You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to our 1500th episode of Orange County's longest running business talk show. And yes, I am your host, Rick Franzi. We've been interviewing Orange County business leaders and nonprofit leaders for 15 years, actually since March of 2009. And yes, we're a podcast, but we also do a live stream. So this show has live audience in the listening to our show. So if you are a member of the live audience, I encourage you to join us by maybe posting a comment. Haley will see them. She's been with me since 2016, and we'll bring your comments onto this show so you can also be a part of the 1500th episode. A couple of facts to consider. When I started doing this show in 2009, there was roughly 30,000 active podcasters out there. Today, the stats say there's about 3 to 5 million podcasters out there, but only about 20%, if that, are active podcasters at any time. I was interested to find out that only 44% of all podcast shows have 3 episodes. So almost half of all the podcasters have only done 3 episodes over the course of their show. But the average number of shows in a catalog for all the podcasts are about 50 shows in their catalog. You know, we're approaching about 500,000 downloads, and that's through the live. Thank you, Luke. It's nice to see that you're listening to us today. Luke is a peer ref leader. Geeta, thank you. It's great to have you as a part of our show as well. I enjoy having our listening audience contribute, and hopefully you all continue to contribute throughout the show. We're approaching 500,000 downloads and views on YouTube and through our podcasting sites. And we're also over 7 figures of revenue have been generated through the podcast effort that we've done over the years. I enjoy hosting this show. And as we've done several different iterations of the program, our guiding mission continues to be giving a voice to Orange County-based business leaders and nonprofit leaders. That remains at the center of what we do. And so we've got a special show with 3 special guests today. I'm excited that our first guest, Paul Roberts, in many ways, I'm here today doing the show partly because of Paul Roberts. In 2009, when I published my first book, Paul was my publicist, and he was able to secure a number of media outlets to review my book. One of them was with Deborah Sweet. Hello, Hank Blank. Thank you for being a part of the show, and Jim Neidhart as well. And when I was on with Deborah Sweet, Leadership Talk Radio, it was a podcast at the time. And after it was over, I thought, I want to do something for her. That was really great that she gave me that chance to talk about my book. And then I thought, I would like people in Orange County to feel that way about me. So Paul and I started to figure out, how do you do a podcast? And about a month later, I did my first podcast interview, and it was with this man, Paul Roberts. Paul is the creator of OC Talk Radio, and he is a podcast evangelist and someone who's a thought leader in the industry. So, Paul, welcome to Critical Mass Business Talk Show.
What an honor to be here. Who knew when we started that first episode, we'd be back 1,500 later.
Right. 15 years too, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Amazing.
So let's talk about you for a minute, because I know you're the creator of OC Talk Radio. What was the inspiration for you to launch your online radio station?
Desperation. I had been a PR person, and the PR industry, as you recall, 2008, 2009, 2010 had collapsed. My clientele was heavy in lifestyle things, hot tubs, pool tables, and that industry crashed and burned. And the media crashed and burned. I'm supposed to be getting paid by you and other people to get you in the LA Times and get you on the news, and it's all dried up. The Times have gone away. The papers have dried up. So I really sat down and shut my agency down and went back. I had you and a couple little clients left. And I said, what am I going to do? And I said, I'm in my mid-50s. I got to come up with something. And I thought originally this would be a way to revive my PR business. If we couldn't find somebody to tell your story, we'll tell your story. And then I quickly realized this is the business of the future. And so I went all in and really bought way too much equipment and signed a 6-month lease to see. That's how confident I was it would last, and to see if podcasting could be a business.
And you are where now? And tell us about the current state of octalkradio.net.
15 years later, I'm still here, and it's grown, and it's become. I always say I'm a good Irish Catholic, so I felt like John the Baptist for so many years, wandering the desert, saying, "Somebody's coming, the Savior's coming," and nobody would listen to me. Now I'm the mad prophet, like you, who saw this potential early on. So, right, for the last couple of years, we've grown. We're at UCI's Beale Applied Innovation Center, fancy word for where they try and take technology on campus and turn it into something. And we've grown. We've picked up some bigger brands: UCI Law School, City of Hope Hospital, small business development centers. And it's really just storytelling. We're telling their story in long form. It's not just short snippets like this, long form storytelling. And it's repetitive. It's a story. It's like a audiobook. One chapter leads to the next, serialized.
So you, like me, you've been in this podcasting space for quite a while. And thank you, Craig Cook and Jean Latou, for your congratulations and warm thoughts. I really appreciate it. They're both members of our REV community here in Orange County, of peer groups for CEOs and business owners. But Paul, what have you noticed, having clients now who are doing podcasts on your platform? What's changed in the podcast scene here, if you were, in Orange County since you launched OC Talk Radio?
Well, the two biggest things that I've seen change are this. In the beginning, I called it OC Talk Radio. We called it Talk Radio because nobody knew what a podcast was.
Right.
So this idea of having a conversation that goes out not through the ether like an old radio station, but over the Ethernet. And if we did it at the same day and time, it is kind of like a radio show. So we thought of it as radio more than a podcast because nobody knew. Now, nobody knows what a radio station is. They all know what a podcast is. So I don't know. Are we doing online radio? Are we doing live podcasting? We're doing a little bit of both. That's one thing that's changed. And the second thing that's changed is video, which you pioneered. You pushed me this a long time ago. I said, nobody wants to watch two people talking to a microphone.
I remember that.
Yeah. Everybody wants to watch this. So I credit you as seeing that potential. We thought it was just an audio medium. People are going to listen while they're working and working out, and they still do. But the video now, they used to call those blogs for a while, vlog, because this was an audio blog. That was a video blog. It really is one and the same. And you see on YouTube, they just call them podcasts. There's video versions, there's audio versions, there's probably both.
So I'm wondering, of the different hosts that are putting shows regularly on octalkradio.net, who are they programming for, Paul? What's the audience that you're finding your hosts are collecting and bringing to your brand and to their show?
I know everybody wants it to be an ad. It's going to go viral. I'm going to get 1 million people listen. But I think it was you that pointed this out. You know, this is really niche. This is narrow casting. You're trying to find a certain subject, a certain group, a certain niche that you're trying to reach and target. So it's not about how many, it's who's listening. But everybody still says, yeah, but how many are they? I always say if I did a show on orthopedic surgery, which I don't, I can't imagine many people would listen to that. But who would listen to it would be orthopedic surgeons. Who else would listen to this stuff? So I think if you can really narrow down your niche and come up with a very specific targeted audience, it's a great way to communicate with them and to connect them on an ongoing basis. It's an ongoing conversation, not just a little ad once in a while. So I think it's really that you have to focus on your niche and target that group.
So I mentioned at the top of the show that I've been able to generate 7 figures of revenue over the years through the podcast and the show. But like me, you've been doing this for 15 years. You've created a business and an income stream from being in the podcasting industry. So like me, you're someone who's figured out how to monetize
the unmonetizable. Yeah. And it's not ads. That's what everybody thinks. So I'm going to do this for 2 years. I'm going to get a bunch of people listening. I'm going to sell Coca-Cola an ad. I don't think that's the target. I don't think that's the process. The valuation comes from all the other return on investment. Hey, I'm not any accountant. I'm the guy that has the radio show. That's why I wrote the book. And also, differentiate yourself. You're the first person who used to strike that term, thought leader. Hey, I'm not anybody. I'm the leader in this space here. The second thing is you certainly are. It's a way to meet people and start conversations or continue conversations with your community. And then the third, it took us a while to figure out, is it's a way to create content. You got to fill these channels up. You got to fill up your site and your social media. It brings people there, keeps them there longer, brings them back. Everything that drives search engine optimization. And I'm going to give you one fourth one. I know we're in a tight time frame here. You're the one that told me this. After all is said and done, if you can't, when you talk about a guest, maybe they're going to bring me some content, maybe they're going to bring me a guest audience, maybe they're going to introduce me, maybe they'll hire me, all these things. If not, teach me something. Teach me something that I can go back to my community and say, look, because of this effort, look what I learned, and I'm going to share it with you. I think that's what you've done. Real well.
Well, I couldn't think of a better guest to be my first guest on our 1500th episode 15 years later, because it doesn't seem like it's been 15 years, Paul, but
really?
obviously it has. And thank you for helping me to take that spark of an inspiration that I want to do this and to figure out how to do it, because back in those days we had to do some searching to figure out how to do it.
I got one question as I leave though. How come I look so much older and you still look the same?
I'm going to tell you honestly, you haven't changed a bit, Paul. So if someone wants to connect with you on LinkedIn or find octalkradio.net, how do they do that, my friend?
Certainly find us on the web, octalkradio.net or octalkradio.biz, as we've tried to move into in the last years, or both will find us. Paul Roberts on LinkedIn, 10,000 plus people out there have linked into me. I wish I could say why. I think it's just because we've been putting out content for 15 years here.
Yes, and keep up the good work, my friend. And I look forward to seeing your facility. I'll be down soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
Take care. All right, thank you, Helene. Helene's a former guest. She's been on a couple times, and I see that she's listening to us now. Our second guest is none other than Rebecca Hall. And I asked Rebecca to be on the show because she's a former guest. And as I've gotten to know her and her firm, Idea Hall, I've realized that she's a thought leader in several different ways. She's a thought leader in her field, which is the communications industry, but she's also has a deep leadership and knowledge of the Orange County business community. So who better to join us on this 1500th episode than Rebecca Hall of Idea Hall? Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. And boy, Paul's a tough act to follow. So thank you.
You'll be sandwiched you in between him and Peter Brennan. So that's our three for the show today. So before we get to talk a bit about Orange County and the business community that you know so well, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit, as the founder of Idea Hall, what was your inspiration as an entrepreneur to start your firm?
Oh, this is fun for me to share. We turned 21 years old on Saturday, June 1st.
Wow.
So it just feels like it's gone by in a flash. But 21 years ago, the industry was completely siloed. Ad agencies, PR agencies, video, website, and other specialties, all in those realms. And I was young and thought, this just doesn't feel right for my clients to only have PR as be their solution. That was my first love, was PR. What I really need to do for them is understand their business, the right strategies, and then apply the right tactics to meet their goals. And so on that small insight, I founded one of the first integrated agencies. And that has served us extremely well. I still have clients that started with me in the beginning, and of course we've added many since then. But we've been able to flex and always be strategy first, and then bring in the different parts of the organization that that we're all sitting together, we're all integrated, from creative to brand to PR to digital and PR that work so well together. And today it feels like, well, of course it's done that way, but it wasn't when I founded the firm. The other piece was really big. I'm really big on culture and bringing people together in community. And, when we started, I was trying to create a special culture that maybe more reflected what was happening in Silicon Valley. And over time that evolved, and I really found out, listening to my own teammates, about what really united us was purpose-driven work. And so back in, call it 2019, we really crystallized our mantra of being champions of all things good, and have sought out more and more purpose-driven work, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit or just people who are really involved in making our community better. So today we're thrilled to be celebrating 21 years. We're one of the largest agencies in Orange County, but also now have offices in LA, Nashville, Houston, and Chicago. And we're working both locally and nationally with our clients.
So I want to turn our attention to Orange County and sort of get your thoughts on that. Before I go there, I have to ask the name. Where did that come from, Idea Hall?
Oh, like all good names, it was over cocktails. And and we got, I really liked the sound of it. Had a good reputation of having ideas. So I kind of liked the sound of it with my last name, and also we could get the URL. So that was the thing that was like, yep, that's the one. Thank you.
Well, I said at the top, you're a thought leader in your industry, marketing communications, but I also see you as a thought leader here in Orange County, which is kind of the second reason why I was wanting you to be on the show. Let's talk about how Orange County is changing, and maybe you can start with the major investment scene and what you're seeing is changing in Orange County.
So I'm very involved in the Orange County Business Council. As many people know, I'm excited to be the president-elect, and I will be able to take that new position in January. But from that perspective, I get to see a lot of the big investments happening in Orange County. So whether they're my client or through just trying to make great impact in our community, there is so many things happening here in Orange County to look forward to. And I'll start with Disney Forward. I know everybody's read the news, but just try to wrap your head around $1.9 billion in investment, 9,000 construction jobs, 4,500 long-term operational jobs. That is an amazing thing to be coming to our community. But that is just down the street from OC Vibe. And OC Vibe, I've had the pleasure to work with the great people there. They are investing $4 billion and into new live entertainment, restaurants, hotels, parks, apartments. And so it's just going to be such a great place to go up to Anaheim for a lot of entertainment. And that's on top of the healthcare boom that's happening, a lot of it happening in Irvine, but other places too. I recently, I think it was the Business Journal I read it in, more than $4 billion is being invested by Hope, UCI, City of Hope, not to mention what Chalk Hospital is doing and the Be Well OC or Irvine campus. They also have a campus in Orange. Let's also talk about Dana Point Harbor revitalization. Right. I've also had great pleasure to work with them, and that is underway in a phased development approach. Another $400 million in investment happening in our community. And then, look at the Great Park, and I can't even name all the wonderful things happening at the Great Park, but I was recently at a groundbreaking for the new cultural terrace, which I'm especially excited for because it's going to bring a lot of museums in a space, kind of like a Balboa Park or something where you can go to the different ones that interest you and your family. So there's so much happening here. And the other thing I would say, in investment, I think when I think about all of these wonderful things happening, I'm incredibly proud that our community in Orange County is so diverse. We have just one of the most diverse counties in all of the United States, with such a base of API, Asian, with all of the different countries of origin, and also Hispanic. And just, it's wonderful to have such a dynamic county that we're creating things for all people, all families. It's just a really cool place to be, learn, experience different foods, teach your children. It's a wonderful place to live, as we know.
Yeah, and it's a county that has a long, rich history, but it's also kind of revitalizing itself with the type of investments that you're making. So it continues to be a vibrant, exciting, youthful, growing place to be.
If it didn't come through, I love Orange County.
All right, well, we'll If you're listening to us and you want to make a comment, we encourage you to be a part of the 1500th episode. Bring your thoughts to the screen, and Haley will let us see what you've written. We appreciate those that have commented already. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the trends in workforce that you're seeing here in Orange County.
So, as a business owner, but also in working with so many organizations, talent is just top of mind everywhere. And I could go on and on about this, but a few things I would love to share today is just the diversity of our workforce, right? We have 4 generations in the workforce today. And I was recently looking at the Pew Research Center, and they pointed out that today almost like 20% of adults over the age of 65 are still employed today, whereas in the 80s, only about 11%. So we have double the amount of people over 65 in the workforce today. And as a business owner, I think that's exciting to think about, what diversity and perspectives and mentorship and levels of experience that we can bring into our workforce. We personally have 4 full generations in our company. And sometimes it's just really nice to have those conversations about, well, I don't want to go back and say, back when I was a kid, but I also think there's just a more seasoned perspective that is needed sometimes. And, more seasoned people can also learn a lot from our younger generations and how they see the world. And, I see people saying, well, show me how you did that on Instagram. It's a lot of great sharing. But it's really fun to think about, the preferences of communications in different generations. Our Gen Z, so the way that the research is defining Gen Z is anyone age 12 to 27. So these are, our college grads right now are all in Gen Z. And they are just wanting to be in a very inclusive environment where they feel they belong. And they want to be all they are. They don't want to change who they are when they come to the office. And maybe that's a more traditional perspective, is I'm this when I'm at work and I'm this at home. Everything blurs the lines today. So, that is different styles for different generations for sure. But one of the key things for Gen Z that I would just share with any employer or anyone working with different teams in different generations is Gen Z really wants to not necessarily make the current systems work, but they want to try to dismantle and try to put them together for the future. And it's an interesting when you work through brainstorming or idea generation or innovation, to have that Gen Z in the room who might just say, like, really ask, why do we have to do it this way? Why is it work this way? And like, could we just scrap that and think about a whole new perspective? So, they want to embrace new and not necessarily, take all of the older traditions. And there's certainly pros and cons to that, depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy tension to have 4 generations of workforces, but to figure out how to make that melting pot be stronger than the individual parts. Is that you as your leader of your company and others.
It takes a lot of leadership to have, and we call them, we we love Brene Brown, and she has that whole concept of let's rumble. Let's really talk about this, and we don't have to make it personal, but like, let's work through this tension. Like, why do you see it that way, and how do I see it? And it's a good place to be. So I think that's when you're having real conversations.
Yes, and creating innovation. Earlier, you mentioned the incoming board chair for OCBC. So let's start by saying what OCBC is, and then your role as the incoming board chair. Yeah,
so not to preempt my predecessor, he's doing a wonderful job, but Orange County Business Council is focused on economic development for Orange County. They are using all kinds of things like government relations and different committees who are interested in infrastructure or workforce or housing, to really inform how do we help our businesses thrive and how do we attract businesses who will thrive here in all of Orange County. And so it's a great group of people. A lot of large employers sit on the board. If you go to ocbc.org, you will find the full board list. And you'll see many of the great organizations who are based here, who are participating in that.
So how long will you be the board chair?
Oh, just one year. It's a little bit of a succession plan on the executive committee, and then it's just a real honor to represent the group, and just a way for me to really show my pride and passion about Orange County.
So if someone would like to connect with you on LinkedIn, Rebecca, or maybe go and learn more about Idea Hall, how do they do that?
So my business is Idea Hall. So it's ideahall.com, IDEAHALL. Some people try to stick an ideal hall. You won't find me that way.
No.
We are ideal, but the name is the Idea Hall. And then on LinkedIn, please, I would love to connect. I love to connect with great people in our community. So even if we don't really know each other, I'll probably say yes.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being a guest and agreeing to be a part of our 1500th episode.
Rick, congratulations. We love your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I saw that during our conversation, Geeta said that she and her team love Orange County as well. And Terry Sawyer mentioned that she gave me congratulations and how much she's enjoying the show. Terry is a member of the REF Orange County community and has been for quite some time. She's a creative muse for me. A lot of the innovations that we've done here in Orange County have been inspired by her thinking with me about how we can do things better. So, Terry, I really appreciate you being a part of the show. And then a LinkedIn user said, it sounds like Gen Z will turn the "we all drink from wells we haven't dug" on its head. So thank you, a LinkedIn user, for your comment. And I encourage others during the next segment, if you have something you'd like to contribute to our show, we'd love to have you be a part of our 1500th episode. You know, I invited Peter Brennan to be our third and final guest today because as the executive editor of the Orange County Business Journal, he brings 4 decades of journalistic experience with him. He has had articles published worldwide in the New York Times and the Washington Post, and he's been on major news outlets reporting over the years. But today, we're going to focus on Orange County, and it's good to have you back on the show, Peter. You're a returning guest. You've been on our show a couple times before, so welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Rick. I really appreciate it. And may I say, congratulations on your 1500th show. That's really impressive, and because I know you had to set up 1500 different interesting interviews.
Yes.
And so good for you. Congratulations.
You know what it's like to have to do interviews because you've done so many over your career as well. So I'm wondering, take us back in time, the origin story. What is it about journalism that got you interested as a young man to become a journalist?
Well, I never thought I was a good writer, and but I did take a journalism class in community college, Santa Rosa Community College, and the teacher, she was part-time teacher, and full-time she ran her community newspaper in Point Reyes Light. And while I was a student there in her class, she won the Pulitzer Prize. Her newspaper won the Pulitzer Prize. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So she asked a bunch of us in their class to come down and help her put together the paper. And, they were celebrating that night with the Pulitzer Prize. And I was really impressed with that. And she liked some of my stories. And I just thought, well, I'll get, I was working for Hewlett Packard at the time. And as a, in their warehouse, so to speak, nothing technology wise, but I just thought I'd give journalism a try. And so I went to San Francisco State University. I graduated, I gave it a 2-year period, and here I am 40 years later, I'm still at it.
So you still haven't made up your mind if you're going to still be a journalist, right?
When I grow up.
You may do something different. So
yes.
When I brought you in, I talked about you being the executive editor of the Orange County Business Journal. And the Business Journal sits atop a pretty robust county here in Orange County, covering all things business and philanthropic, etc., entrepreneurial. So you have good perspective to kind of share with us here on our program today, a little bit about it. But I'm wondering, what are you seeing from your perch atop the Orange County Business Journal that's happening in the business Orange County community that you can talk to us about?
Well, I think the major change is in the healthcare industry. Rebecca alluded to it before, and she actually cited my story. So thank you, Rebecca, much appreciated. But you have UCI Health building a $1.3 billion hospital. Over across town, you have City of Hope building a $1.5 billion hospital complex. You have Hoag is spending up to $1 billion building a place on Sand Canyon. And so that's in the healthcare space and the like. And then you have medical device companies that are really dynamic. I mean, you have like Massimo developed this technology, and they're worth $7 billion. Joe Chiani started it 35 years ago in his garage in Aliso Viejo. And then you have Edwards, which is the most valuable publicly traded company here in Orange County. And he spun it off from Baxter 4 years ago, and it's now worth $53 billion. So it's really dynamic. And if you look at the 25 most valuable publicly traded companies here in Orange County, half of them are in the healthcare space.
I did not know that. I did see while you were talking that Geeta Sharifi said, "Peter, nice to meet you, and thank you for the honor of awarding me the 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award for CFO of the Year." So Orange County Business Journal does these great events throughout the year where they're recognizing advancements in entrepreneurship and CEO and women in business. And obviously, Geeta was recognized at one of your events. So that's a fantastic honor for sure. I'm wondering, what trends, new businesses, tell us a little bit about how big is the Orange County economy, maybe relative to other economies, or just give us a sense from your perspective. What are we dealing with in Orange County?
You could steal this line from me. Orange County's economy is as big as Finland's, the country of Finland. So we are covering an economy the size of Finland in Orange County, and it's obviously much smaller. You don't have igloos and that sort of thing. But you know, if you want to take Southern California into consideration, Southern California has an economy the size of Australia. Wow. So there you go. You have two comparisons right there. Right. It's just a dynamic area. Entrepreneurs, I discovered this a long time ago. Entrepreneurs start businesses where they want to live. So what better place in the world to live than Orange County? I mean, one year I interviewed an owner of a tourism company who's traveled around the world, and he lives down there at Balboa Peninsula, and he says flat down, Orange County is a great place, the best place in the world to live. The climate is excellent, you know, and everybody has to pay the weather tax because of the goons up in Sacramento, but you love it here. I mean, it's just really good. So.
Right. One of the things that you mentioned to me before when we were getting ready for your interview is that there are 3,000 companies with annual revenue between 5 million and 50 million. That's a
5 million and 500 million. Yes.
Oh, okay, even better. 5 million and 500 million. That blew my. I wrote that down because that's like, wow, that's a lot of businesses that fall into that. Because it's hard to get to build a $5 million company, right?
Without a doubt. No.
And to have that many that said at 5 million, you said the 500 million it was shocking to me. And so I just wanted to thank you again for a tidbit of data that you shared with me that in our prep. So where do you see, from your perspective and from kind of the Orange County Business Journal's perspective, you can't forecast the future, Peter, I understand that, but what other trends are you seeing that maybe in entrepreneurship? I know you had mentioned something about pharmacists before, but what else are you seeing in the business culture there?
Well, this is part of the healthcare. I'm glad you brought up the pharmacy business. You know, Chapman started a school of pharmacy to treat pharmacy graduates. And I thought to myself, why would you do that? You're supplying CVS with all these pharmacists? Well, no. The idea is that these pharmacists will develop new drugs going forward. And so you're seeing a whole bunch of talent being here. I mean, you have this company called CG Oncology. And what they're doing is they're targeting, using viruses to target cancers in bladders, and which is a very tough thing to do. Because, you know, all current medication, you basically pee out the medication. So they're using viruses, and so they went public. They don't have any sales yet. They're starting in their phase 3 clinical trial, And when they went public, they got about a $2.5 billion market cap. And so they're really dynamic. And you might know of Patrick Sung. He's the owner of the LA Times. And like his company is doing something similar. And so these two companies are competing with each other and are going to compete with each other once CG Oncology gets its product approved. Patrick Sung company got its product approved a few months ago. So that's a dynamic area. In other areas I see, finance. Orange County has long been really good in finance. You have, unfortunately, we're like the center of the 2008 meltdown, with the mortgages and but you have a lot of talent out there. And for example, two of the biggest mortgage companies are here in Orange County, Loan Depot and New American Financing. And you might remember Stearns, Glenn Stearns. He was on Undercover Billionaire. He sold his company, Stearns Lending, and then he started Kind Lending. And so he's done really well. So you got finance, you got a whole bunch of real estate, people in if you can do real estate here in Orange County, you can do it almost anywhere. And so that's another area. And the wealthiest real estate investor in the country lives here in Orange County, and that's Donald Brennan, who owns, as you might well know, the Fashion Island and Spectrum, and he owns about 50,000 apartments, 50 million square feet of commercial space, yada yada yada. So he's done really well, and he's spun off a lot of people and then you have PIMCO. PIMCO, I mean, they're like one of the world's largest money managers with $2 trillion. And the people who work at PIMCO, because I know this because I worked there for 6 months, they are the smartest in the world. I mean, they're really, really smart. And so if you look at their backgrounds, they're like the people who ran the central bank, of various countries and and so they really know what they're doing there. And you have Pac Life. You've seen the whales jump out of the ocean, right? So they're down there in Newport Beach, and just chugging along and doing quite well. Then one interesting phenomenon that I've seen is restaurants. Now, I'm not a big fan of restaurants because everybody in the world thinks they're a great cook, but the actual business of running a restaurant is really tough. And all you got to do is basically open your door, and there's no moat around it whatsoever. But if you get a chain restaurant, you can do really well. And you have a whole bunch of chains here that are successful: In-N-Out, Del Taco, Taco Bell, and the big one, Chipotle. And Chipotle, is run by the former Taco Bell executive, right? And so when Taco Bell hired him, he said he's going to move the company. Or when Chipotle hired him, Brian Nichol, he said, we're going to move the headquarters to Newport Beach and and so the owner went along with it, and so they moved the headquarters to Newport Beach. And why did they move the headquarters to Newport Beach from Denver? Because there's so much talent in this industry here. And in Fashion Island, he's in Fashion Island. Fashion Island real estate is as costly as Midtown Manhattan, to give you an idea. So, when he came, I thought they would move up to some cheap place up in Anaheim. But he wanted he wanted the best people in the world. And if you ever go in those tall buildings surrounding Fashion Island, you'll see the best views around. So restaurants are really good. You have a bunch of programs out here at UCI, Octane, Chapman that is trying to start up, encourage startups and some of them are doing pretty well. I mean, all of them are doing very well. You look at Octane particularly. We'll have a front page story in Octane coming on Monday. Bill Carpool is just doing a dynamic job. And so you just have so many people with so much talent here. And as I said, entrepreneurs want to start businesses where they live. They don't want to have a business here and they're going to go to the middle of Nebraska to start it. No, they'll start it here.
Well, Peter, as the executive editor to Orange County Business Journal, you've dropped a bunch of nuggets for us to remember and to repeat, and I appreciate that. If someone would like to reach out to you, how do they connect with you?
Buy the paper. We love our readers. Subscribe. If you want an annual issue, it costs annual subscription. It's $58. I'll get you a discount. You can always email me at brennan@ocbj.com, link in with me, or follow me on Twitter. Although I'm not the best at social media, I'm kind of old school. I'm still trying to figure out, the revenue stream. But so congratulations to you for figuring that out. There are a bunch of ways, and the old-fashioned way, you can just call up the Orange County Business Journal. I answer my phones.
Well, I appreciate you coming back on the show, being a part of this 1500th episode, and a friend of the program, Peter. Thank you very much today. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Okay. Well, that just about does it for our show today. I hope you've enjoyed the conversations with our three guests. They're all dynamic, wonderful people, and I appreciate those of you who've engaged and made comments. It adds such an energy to the show when you take the time to do that. I truly appreciate everyone who's been a part of our program over the years. We have 1,500 episodes in our catalog. We have way more interviews than that because the first few years we were doing 2 guests a show. So I don't really know exactly how many guest interviews we've done, but we know we have 1,500 episodes out there. If you're an Orange County business or nonprofit leader and you would like to share your story with our audience, then I'd ask you to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. Coincidentally, that's also our company's website, rickfranzi.com. Oh, thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. It's great to see you listening to the show as well. And until the next time we all have a chance to be together, I hope that all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.